Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and cracker jack. I don't care if I ever get back. Let me root for the home team.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Fantasy Basebrawl. I'm Nas. Notice that I said not an inning today, because as I said yesterday, I wanted to try something a little bit different. I didn't want to exhibit a new deck because, quite frankly, I knew this wasn't going to be easy to create content every single day. I just didn't realize how involved it would be. Every time I do this, it takes about an hour for my computer to process the video, and then about another 30 to 45 minutes to upload it to YouTube, because my internet's good, but it's not like a gig up. So I thought I'd welcome you to a new show, or segment, whatever you'd like to call it. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to call it the 7th Inning Stretch. And this will be a show where we discuss, well, nobody else is here. I'm the only person here. Where I'll give my thoughts about various topics within Magic. And I came up with this idea, today's subject anyway. I wanted to call it, flavor or fail. Now, obviously, this is only going to be for things like Universes Beyond, maybe a little bit in the core sets or the original products. Because when I was trying to make the Seifer deck, initially, as I said before, I tried to base it around his Fire Cross ability. That was to be able to cast instants with his, once he hits the opponent, using Fire Cross to cast instants, 3 or less, mana value 3 or less. The problem I kept running into was that there really wasn't a lot of useful spells. You have things like your Lightning Bolts, your Shocks, your Stone Rains, I can't remember that one, Monstrous Form or Monstrous Rage, the one that just got banned from Standard. And I was really thinking about it, and I was thinking about, like, the flavor of the card and a lot of these Final Fantasy cards that have come out. And I'm going to get to other subsections. Today, I just wanted to really focus on Final Fantasy VIII. Because I do have a lot to say about some of the other cards, like from Final Fantasy VI, where I thought the flavor and the colors were way off. So, dealing with Seifer. Growing up, I always called him Seifer. That's what me and my friends all called him. But I guess apparently Seifer is the correct pronunciation. Although someone once told me in Japanese it would be pronounced Seiferu, but I don't know. They could have been wrong too. If anybody wants to correct me on that, go ahead and leave that in the comments. So when I was looking at Seifer, and when I was looking at, like, his creature type, his abilities, I like that he's a knight. I like his stat line. I love this ability whenever, his double strike ability. I think that's, very reflective of the character. In battle, he's the only other character in Final Fantasy VIII. Oh, and before I keep going, there's going to be major spoilers for Final Fantasy VIII. So if you've never played, and you want to avoid the video for now, or if you don't care, just fair warning. And Final Fantasy VIII is a very fun game. I played it, when it originally came out on the PlayStation way back when. I'm dating myself here. So, with Seifer, everything looks good. His casting cost is pretty good, or his mana value. His mana value, his stat lines, his abilities. And again, his Fire Cross ability would not be that bad if he weren't just mono red. In other words, how I would fix his card, especially for Commander. Maybe that's the problem for Brawl Commander. They didn't think about that. But then again, you have Squall. You have Squall Seed Mercenary, who, is a very great commander on paper. Like, just off the bat, without having to try, he's, it's really easy to see how you can manipulate the battlefield with Squall. With your, enter on trigger or triggering upon entering abilities, you know, sacking things to create stuff, bringing them back, resacking them. So, you know, going back to Seifer. So if we have, see if I can put the two of them together. Well, close enough. If you compare Seifer to Squall, because they're mirror images of each other, they're supposed to be. You know, they both use gun blades. They're both, you know, classified as knights, depending on what part of the game you're at, and I'll get to that in a second. So in that regard, I honestly thought that Seifer should also be a double color. In fact, this is what I would have done. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I created this myself in the custom magic card maker. I would have done something like this, you know, because as a Rakdos creature, Seifer would have had access to, you know, far more better spells. And maybe it might have been too broken, overpowered. You get your things like, you know, Doomblade. You'd have access to, you know, really good things. You could, you know, cast for one, you know, Fatal Push, things like that. You know, your Rakdos colored spells like Bedevil. And maybe that was part of it. Why they chose not to make him Rakdos. So that's what I would have done. I would have done something like this, again, just on its surface. You know, Seifer is, you know, he is mind controlled. He is the Sorceress Knight. So he should be black to reflect that. I mean, I think red is a great color for him because he's the romantic, passionate hero. That's his, you know, his romantic dream is to be the Sorceress Knight. So, whereas Squall, I guess with Squall, you know, my criticism with Squall, and I think I might have mentioned it when I made that deck. You know, he's called, you know, Seed Mercenary. Way back when, because I like to create magic cards, my own, you know, dream magic cards for fun, because I'm bored. I made Squall's type, you know, human seed. And then I later realized, oh, wait, seed is just like a type of mercenary, so I would have changed that eventually. So, my issue with Squall, at least this version of Squall, the one you're seeing and I'm highlighting right now, you know, he's called Seed Mercenary, and his creature type reflects that. However, he's still given the other, you know, class Knight. By the point in the game you've reached where Squall considers himself a Knight, this is after he decides to that he's going to defend Renoa no matter what. And, you know, and ironically in the story, he becomes the true Sorceress Knight, not Seifer. At least in the sense that, you know, Squall's the one who's heroic and he's defending his lady. Seifer's just under the mind control of, you know, of the sorceress. So I don't think I wouldn't call him Seed Mercenary, or at least I would just keep his creature type a human mercenary. For that matter, I just don't see Squall as an Orzhov creature. There's nothing in the game that indicates to me that he would be, you know, black. He's a loner, but I wouldn't consider him selfish. He's very, you know, he always follows orders and things like that. I always imagine him as just a mono-white creature, you know, because mono-white, if I'm remembering my color pie, is, you know, the color of, like, order. So technically, Squall could get away with just being a mono-white creature. He doesn't need to be Orzhov, but I think obviously you had to make him Orzhov in order for that ability to be much better. Nor do I, for that matter, his ability to bring permanence back, I just don't really see that. I really don't see that as part of his gameplay. You know, Squall is, I mean, you can make the characters whatever you want in that game through the junction system. But with Squall, his inherent abilities, the Gunblade, again, reflected in, you know, gaining double strike. I think that's great. He doesn't really, like, he's not recursion. You know, anybody in the game can use items like Phoenix Down. They can all use, you know, white magic like life or full life. He doesn't have an inherent ability to heal or to bring back, resurrect anybody. So, and then other thing, it's other things I'm still kind of puzzled by their choice of how they phrase it. I would have here. Hold on, let me look it up real quick because I created something. So bear with me, and I'll go ahead and cut to that. So yeah, like I would have had this as his card to, and I'm going to put that up here now. But what I wanted to go is their abilities. Like, I don't know who created this set, who designed this set. If you're looking at Seifer and you're looking at Squall, Seifer's ability to cast things from the graveyard is called Firecross. Firecross is the command name for his limit break. Whereas Squall's ability for the double strike is called Rough Divide, which is a singular limit break that he performs, not the command. His technical command is called Renzakuken, which, if I don't speak Japanese, but I believe it means continuous or repeating sword. So what I would have done for both characters, I would have had their first ability called Gunblade, to refer to the fact that when you in game, when you attack with either Seifer or Squall, you press the R1 button as if it's the trigger of the Gunblade at the right moment, at the moment of the swing, for extra damage. And that would be like your doubling effect. You're doubling the damage by pulling the trigger. So I would have done something like this for Squall. I'm going to flash that up at minimum. And then for the secondary ability, I would have named that after his limit break command, which is Renzakuken, because Renzakuken is never, well, it depends on his status, his health bar, or the amount of HP he has left, and if he's like poisoned, status ailments, or if your allies are dead. It will determine the amount of hits you get. So the nature of Squall's limit break, the Renzakuken, it's the first part of the limit break. You perform a series of attacks, and then after that, it'll trigger a specific limit. And in which case, the first one he gets is Rough Divide, which is just a basic, like kind of like an uppercut swing. He learns Fated Circle, which hits all enemies, then Blasting Zone, which hits all enemies. And then, of course, he gets Lionheart, which is like the Final Fantasy VIII version of Omni Slash, except it only hits one opponent. But for, a hell of a lot of damage. So in that regard, I thought that, like what I have here on the screen is what I would have done. Gunblade for the damage bonus, and then the name of the limit break command to represent the secondary ability to bring stuff back from the graveyard. Same with Seifer, although Seifer's, Firecross is appropriate. That's a command ability. The only limit he has while he's a member of your team is called No Mercy. So I actually think that would be a better name, ironically enough, for this ability, because it's No Mercy. Seifer's swinging in, he's hitting you, and he's going to keep hitting you with instants. Hey, No Mercy. So anyway, but let me move on. And while we're on the subject of Gunblades, there was no Gunblade artifact in this. The only thing to reference the Gunblade was the Lionheart. Oh, because it's two. Is it 2 words? I could have sworn it's 1 word in the, but I guess. The quote is great. That's definitely Squall's quote. However, it's not legendary, which I know people have pointed out that according to the game, anybody can build a Lionheart. However, it is like the best weapon in the game, and it's basically like a standard sword. It's almost like one of the the swords of fire and ice or whatever, like those types of swords. Same, except it costs more, and same equip cost. You don't even get 2/2; it's 2/1, and it deals 2 damage when it comes out. And to me, that's so generic for the Gunblade. The Gunblade is a freaking iconic looking weapon. It was awesome. I remember when we were kids and we saw these promotional photos of Squall with his Gunblade. We're like, whoa, look at that cool sword, like the freaking revolver handle. And it's like how does that work? Does he shoot bullets out? And then we learned you pull the trigger and do more damage. It was like a nice little interactive thing to make you pay attention during a fight. You didn't have to just keep mashing attack over and over. You could actually be rewarded by paying attention and pulling the trigger. You contrast this with You know, I could... One sec. Maybe I'm... You know, I could swear that there was 2 different versions of the Buster Sword. I could have sworn I read something, unless that was a fan card. Give me one sec. Oh, okay, that's why. Because Cloud's Buster Sword was... It looks like it's a... it was a secret lair. That's why. I'm flashing it up there. It was a secret lair. It's basically... It's just a shifted version of Umezawa's Jit. Or Jite. I don't know how you pronounce that either. So... Like I said, the Buster Sword is a much better card than the Lionheart. You know, I mean, look what you're getting. Look what you're getting here. You know, for 3, you're getting a better stat line than like your Swords of Fire and Ice or whatever. Equip cost is the same, and you get a tremendous effect upon hitting a player. In fact, this would actually make a great card for a Squall deck or a Seifer deck. But anyway. I don't know how much, I try to keep these things about roughly an hour. I mean, if you're all interested, you can stick around and, sorry, I had to check my time. So, going back, I try to keep these things about an hour. They're not heavily edited, as you might have realized, and I don't typically write these out in advance. I don't script these. As a matter of fact, while I'm here, I'll give a shout out, I guess in kind of a way I was inspired to do this because of Nitsahone Magic and his channel, because he does some really good stuff. He has he's really great at drafting. He has these really fun draft videos to watch, and if you follow his channel, you'll get better at drafting. So I highly recommend Nitsahone's channel. He also does these top 10, which I love watching those because it's almost like these little mini documentaries about the history of Magic. So I'm not going to bother, doing top 10. He's so good at it. I mean, he has, he's got stat lines, a point system that makes sense. He'll tell you what the value of the card is. I'm too lazy to do stuff like that. So this is just me speaking from the heart. In fact, I don't know if he scripts them. I mean, I'm assuming he's, reading a stat line at the same time. I'm not trying to insult him. If Nitsahone's watching this, dude, I'm not trying to insult you. You got a great channel, and part of the reason why I've done this is because I loved watching your stuff. But if we keep going with, see, it's too bad because I can't search up cards based on the Final Fantasy they're from. Like if you type in FF8 like so. You get nothing, even though in the it'll tell you, like, see there, it's FF9. God, it'd be so much easier to go over this if I had if I could just have it all up. I could go by them one by one. So I don't think I'm going to go through all of them, but I think this version of Squall is fine. I mean, it's just a shifted version of Danitha Capuchin. I mean, obviously I can edit it down so that it'll look better. I don't think Final Fantasy VIII got as much love as some of the other ones in this set. I mean, already I've gone through, a couple pages. I've said, oh, here we go. Like Dreams of Laguna. I thought this is hey, it's not a bad concept for a card that lets you surveil then draw. I think that's fine. You got Quistis. I think she's on point compared to what I would have made. I would have made her Azorius and done some shenanigans where she gets abilities based on, maybe what's on the field or in your graveyard, something like that. So maybe not in the graveyard, probably for, what's on the field. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, she literally uses attacks lifted directly from other monsters with blue magic. So I'm fine with that. Memories returning. I think this is fine. It's the part in the game where the main characters remember the fact that they're all orphans from the same orphanage. And then it turns out that Sorceress Adea, the woman who they're supposed to assassinate, was their caretaker. So this is a good idea. They've lost their memories because of the junctioning system over time, and this totally reflects that moment. You see them remembering their childhood selves here in this picture. So I think that one's just fine. Okay, so with Adea, I'm pretty sure this is the only Adea card in the set. In fact, I'll go ahead and type that up just to make sure. Yeah, it is. Um, so like my problem with Adea isn't even that she exists. I mean, I think it's fine to have a shifted version. My concern was that there was no dedicated card to her because I mean she's the main villain for the first 3 discs. So I don't know why you wouldn't do like an actual standard card of her. And that's reflected again going back to the flavor. Idea is mono blue. If you were to use her as your commander, you wouldn't be able to put Seifer in your deck. I mean, Seifer like literally serves, he serves the sorceress. He's at her side during the parade in Galbadia, in Disc 1, the climax to Disc 1. So the fact that you can't have him in a deck if you made her the commander is just kind of it's a big miss, in my opinion. And for that matter, while we're on the subject, Ultimecia, I think ultimately is good flavor. Because whenever she enters or attacks, you surveil. It's kind of like looking into the future of your library because Ultimecia, again, is, time-based. I mean, that's her whole gimmick is time compression. And again, right here, right, as well. But again, the failure comes in that she is Demir or just mono blue. And like I said, if she were your commander, Seifer could not be in the deck. I mean, literally, there's a point where you get like a flashback to to see what happened after you defeated Idea, and at that point, Ultimecia, who had been controlling Idea from the future, jumps bodies into Renoa, and you see Renoa tell Seifer to find the lunatic Pandora, and he even says, "Yes, Ultimecia." Like he knows it's Ultimecia that's now in charge. So he goes from serving Idea to serving Ultimecia. So if it was up to me, and I'm not going to make another card this time because, you don't want to see whatever, I would at least make Ultimecia Grixis, blue, black, and red. That way you could put both Idea and Seifer in the deck with her, since both of them serve her. But anyway, that's the big opportunity, big flavor fail right there. All right, we're here with A Promise Fulfilled, which is just a shifted version of Light Up the Stage. I think this is fine for what it represents. This is the moment when Squall saves Renault from being frozen in, for lack of a better term, carbonite. They were going to seal her away along with her sorceress powers, because at this point she's inherited the power of the sorceress from Idea. I think that's fine for a time-shifted card. That's, it works out well. Zell, and I think I mentioned this before in one of my other videos. I like that he's a monk because he fights with his fists. I don't like that he isn't also a mercenary like Squall. Squall is a human mercenary knight. Zell is also a member of Seed, making him a mercenary. He should also be a mercenary. He should be a human mercenary monk or monk mercenary, whatever. Again, I don't remember him being like this worldly person. So he's more of a land-based creature. I think in the version that I made a while back, I made him Boros. I think his color is great because Zell is impulsive, he's impassionate, likes to fight. He's always up for a challenge. I just don't see the land-based abilities. And again, everybody can, if you want to comment and if you want to explain it to me, I'm all ears. I mean, I might be missing something here too. Just Seifer again. Ironically, you can put Seifer and Zell in the same deck, even though these two can't stand each other. Seifer always calling Zell a chicken wuss. If you've played the game, you'd know that. Okay, Sorceress's Schemes. I like this one. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard or an exiled card with flashback you own back to your hand. I think that's great flavor because, again, Ultimecia is, a time-based character, obsessed with time. They never say what our motivations are. There's theories, and I'll get to that in a second. However, again, this is a red card. If you wanted to make a commander based around the Ultimecia provided in this set, you wouldn't be able to have this in your deck, which, again, I think is a very big missed opportunity. As a side note, as I was about to say, no one really knows what Ultimisha's motivations are. I mean, I think it's just said that only she could survive a world that's where it's time compression, all time merged into one. There's a long running theory that she's a future version of Renoa, and I think already that's already been I forget what the word is. That's already been dismissed by Nomura. That's not, that's not what she is. Oh, okay. So here we go. The first summon that I found in Final Fantasy VIII, Cerberus or Kerberos. I always called it Cerberus. I do like how the set incorporates summons. You get a temporary creature. The way that a summon is temporary, so that's great. I mean, I really like that. Just I'm giving the okay sign right now. I mean, just perfect. That's a great way. Its double and triple ability is also a great, a really good, reflection of what the card does, of what the character does in the game. You got triple triad, of course. I thought this was, obviously that's a great inclusion. I would have given it some flavor text, just something because, as people know, like put something like the random rule has spread throughout this region, and most people who've played Final Fantasy VIII would know exactly what you're talking about. And I think that was just a text failure. I don't know why Squall's not wearing his gloves. I figured he wears gloves even while he's playing, but it's again not enough to. I'm sure it's one of those things where it's like, oh, he's taking time out to play cards. I tried drafting this, I think, in the first time I drafted, and that was a big mistake. It didn't really help. It was, obviously it's too hard cost to get it out, and even if you get it out, I don't think I ever got anything good, not even once. It just so happens it's next to random encounter. This card saved my butt like you wouldn't believe. This is a great card in draft if you've got red. At least it was for me. All right, you got your Balam T-Rexor. And I mean, fair enough. I mean, it's a fair card. It's a dinosaur, trample, your standard, a 6/6 body for 6. You gain some life, forest cycling. I mean, you do kind of find it in, inside the Balam Garden Training Area, or the Balam Garden Training Center. The life gain effect, I don't think that's really relevant to the creature in game. Just something nice. I mean, it's just kind of mid. I'm somewhere in midway between flavor and fail. I mean, I almost think this would have worked better as a shifted, that one trampling dinosaur. It's like haste and trample, like rampaging Ferocidon. Is that the one I'm thinking of? I'll flash it up. All right, here we here we go. I know this was a lot of controversy before it came out. The Jumbo Cactuar. So, my problem with Jumbo Cactuar, I think its casting cost is fine because you're obviously getting a big effect from it. I like its ability, 10,000 needles, so it's going to hit you for 10,000 if it hits. The only gripe I have is that if you're going to make this a creature, it should be legendary. That was probably my only real gripe with this character. With this creature, I would have made it a legendary creature. That way you can't replicate it. I mean, it says how, some cactuar, but I mean, there's only one in the game. I mean, it's literally so unique that you can see it on the field map before you encounter it, and after you defeat it, it'll become a summon. I almost think that Jumbo Cactuar should have been a saga, like a summon saga. That way, maybe its final abilities it give. Well, if it gave something else plus 9999, that'd probably be too powerful. Then again, like this isn't too powerful. Just slap evasion on it or trample, and it's gonna bust or just sack it with something. Which that I'm already thinking of ideas to exploit it in it, like with something like self-destruct or fling, like those types of effects. But I like the card. I mean, my minor nitpick is that it's not legendary. Squall, you already know how I feel about that. Okay, you got Renoa. I think her creature type is perfect. I mean, I guess a nitpick, again, she's kind of like Squall. We're at the part where she becomes a sorceress, so a warlock. Warlock's fine. At that point, she's fighting for a lot more than just, freeing, the town of Timber. So I would probably just make her a human warlock. But I mean, part of the game, she's a rebel. She gets her dog Angelo, who, despite the name, is not male but female. The Angelo cannon ability is pretty good. Or it's good flavor. It's not a great card. She's got a solid body though, a 4/4 for 5. I mean, that's not terrible. I mean, though, I just think there could have been a lot better to do with this card, with a Renoa card. Like when she becomes a sorceress, she gets a second set of limit breaks where she basically just berserk cast magic. I think that would have been better. She's not as good as some of the other green white characters. She's not as good as, in my opinion, like someone like Garnet or in fact Yuna. I think Yuna's probably the best green white character. And I cannot figure it out. God, I used to know all the magic guilds by heart. Selesnya. She's not the best. This isn't the best Selesnyan card. I probably would have, for what she does, I think I'd probably make her have her mana value of 4 instead of 5. I think 5 is just too expensive, And again, the flavor fail is that she cannot be in a deck with Squall. If Squall is the commander, or if Renoa is the commander, they cannot be in each other's deck. So someone else would have to be. It would have to be Abzan. It would have to be an Abzan commander in order to get both Renoa and Squall in the same deck, which is ironic given that Final Fantasy VIII was the first Final Fantasy to really focus on a love story, like a true romance story. The romance between Cloud and Aerith and Seven, or Tifa, it was there, but it wasn't like at the forefront. It's just like an afterthought. People, they always debate like what were Cloud and Aerith doing under the airship. But yeah, and I think that's, again, it's a minor fail. Again, if you had made Squall mono white, he could be in a deck where Renoa's the commander. But so just it's okay. It's an okay card. Okay, so you got your town based on Final Fantasy VIII, Balam Garden. I do agree with it being Simic. I think that's fine. I guess a lot of these towns, they're not legendary, so I'm not gonna. I mean, I think they should be, because they're unique locations from these video game worlds. And its ability to transform and become a mobile fortress, I mean, that's totally from the game, so that's great. One less to activate for each other town you control. I would almost make it where it's one less ability to act for every creature you have. Because Balam Garden is a military academy, and it needs a student body. So I think the better flavor would have been to have its transformation ability based on the amount of creatures you have, and not on lands, other towns. Unless they're saying that because you're using its ability to go mobile and float around the map to visit other towns. Maybe that's what the gimmick was. But again, it's not bad. It's not perfect. Okay, we're gonna come to what I consider probably the biggest flavor fail for the Final Fantasy VIII group. It even says right here that it calls monsters from the moon. In Final Fantasy VIII, if you didn't know, monsters come from the moon, and occasionally the lunatic Pandora, I believe it's called the Lunar Cry, which is like a phenomena that basically links the lunatic Pandora to the moon. I don't remember if there's 2 moons in Final Fantasy VIII. I know there's 2 in Part 4, or I should say in Final Fantasy IV. So I guess the surveil ability is okay. But the main function of the lunatic Pandora is just to call down a huge swarm of monsters. I think it's called the Lunar Cry. I don't know why it has to be sacrificed to do it, because as far as I remember, I'm pretty sure that that after the Lunar Cry happens in Final Fantasy VIII, the lunatic Pandora is still standing. It doesn't have to sacrifice itself to bring down the Lunar Cry. And it doesn't really destroy anything. I think it's implied that there's an area of the map where the lunatic cry happened before and it destroyed the city. So, I don't know. I wouldn't make it destroy a non-land permanent. It would probably be the other way around, where it should destroy a land. It should be something like, you know, and probably you have to sack it because then it would be too powerful to use over. I would probably make it something along the lines of, you sacrifice Lunatic Pandora, destroy target land, and then you reveal, cards from the top of your library until you reveal a non-human creature and put that creature into play. In fact, I wouldn't even sacrifice. It would have to exile. Otherwise, the room for abuse would be too great. The Lunatic Pandora is a gigantic, artifact. It's almost like a fortress. So that it only costs 1 is amazing. But overall, I think it's a gigantic fail. It has nothing to do with what it accomplishes in the game. So, okay, we have the poo-poo UFO. And this is based around the UFO mini quest in Final Fantasy VIII, which I admit I didn't really do it. I think I did it for the card that you get, the poo-poo card. I wouldn't actually. I think this is actually decent flavor. You can tap it, put a land out, because the game requires you to go all over the map to find this UFO, to find these random encounters. So that's a great ability. And then I guess it's, ability to get power based on the amount of towns you have. I mean, that's it links well to its first ability. So I would say it's good. It's a good it's a pretty good flavor for that card. I'm seeing vehicles here. I don't think there's a Ragnarok, which is too bad. The Ragnarok airship. Again, the Lionheart, tremendous. It's not as big of a fail as the Lunatic Pandora, but in my opinion, this was a fail. This should have been a legendary thing. It should have done something. It should have, because it lets you get Squall's, greatest limit break. It should have done something maybe having to do with with instants or sorcerers. It should have been something like when this creature deals combat damage to a player, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal an instant or sorcery with mana value 3, and then you can cast it for free. Something. It should have been something like that to reflect the extra damage that you get, or, kind of like this inspirational limit. I always reasoned that the reason, and I'll put up a little collage here so you can see it. Depending on what Gunblade Squall has equipped is what determines what his final blow for the limit break can be. Your basic revolver, that only gets you his basic limit break. I believe the next 2 unlock the Fated Circle, and then the next 2 more unlock Blasting Zone, and then after that you get the Lionheart. So like I said, this was it's not the biggest fail, it's a fail, but not the biggest fail. And it's a shame, Okay, I thought this was a great one. The Relentless XATM092. This is, and it even has the quote from Zell, which is amazing. Big thumbs up here. It's just a big gigantic spider tank. So it's a robot spider. Although I don't remember if it's controlled by anybody inside. So fair enough. I think it's a robot. So I think that's fine. An artifact creature. It's more of a spider than a tank. You fight it one time, it breaks down, and then it regenerates and chases after you, which is being depicted in this card art. So I do like the fact that you can bring it back with a finality counter. You can actually fight this thing at multiple points during the escape from Dahlette sequence. As a matter of fact, I almost feel like it should have had a higher mana value. And maybe you can somehow bring it back more than once. Maybe like twice before it goes away permanently. The first time I played the game, maybe even the second time, I didn't realize that you can actually kill this thing. You can kill this thing, not when you initially fight it, but I think anytime after the initial fight, you can do enough damage where when it's regenerating, if you do enough damage at that point, you'll get a cut sequence or cutscene where it'll be destroyed. You'll get a ton of AP, and you'll get a huge bonus on the seed exam score. So I did really like this card. I have nitpicks about it, but I thought it was good. All right, you have the Belem Garden as command beacon. Sacrifice this land. It's a shifted version. Sacrifice this land and put your commander into your hand from the command zone. That's a really cool ability, and I don't know why I don't use this in my Brawl decks. Probably, I don't know, just never. I guess that's good flavor because Balam is, they're creating essentially mercenary soldiers. So, this is where you would go to get, to hire a soldier. You got problems with the, an invading government the way that Renoa did. She went to Sid and, she hired Seed. So that's where, I guess, yeah, it's good. It's good flavor overall, good flavor. And that's about it. However, I had totally forgotten because it's not singular. We do have Sid from Final Fantasy VIII as Sid, Timeless Artificer. I will say I love the flavor behind this entire concept. I liked it. All the Sids have the same casting costs. It's the same creature every time with just different art. I think that's brilliant. It might be the best flavor for this whole Final Fantasy set, not just for 8. But if I'm gonna nitpick, I don't really see Sid from Final Fantasy VIII as an artificer the same way I did Sid from 10, Sid from 7, Sid from 9, who was literally, he's an airship engineer. Sid from 7 is a pilot and an engineer. Sid from 10, engineer. Sid from 4, again, airship engineer. So that would really be my only nitpick behind the Sid from Final Fantasy VIII having, technically not his own card, but I still think it's still clever, the whole thing. You could make the argument he's an artificer in the sense that he's the one that constructed the garden system along with his wife Adea, who eventually becomes Sorceress Adea, the first the first disc villain for the game. But yeah, but that's I believe that's all of it. That's Final Fantasy VIII did not really get great representation. So, I'm not finding a great way to end this video. So, but it was fun. It was fun going through all these cards and giving my honest thoughts. If you care to know them, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm not the only one who thinks this way, and I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments. But, I just wanted to try something different. I think it's really awesome to finally have something that combines two of my favorite loves growing up. One of them, being Magic the Gathering, and the other one being Final Fantasy. So to have them together, it's like, it's like bread and butter. Again, people are like, well, just be happy that you have these cards. And it's like, and you're right. It's cool. It's cool getting to have them. I just think there could have been some tweaks. I thought there could have been some color and flavor adjustments that would have made it even better. Again, and maybe the reason why they didn't do it, it would have been too overpowered in some of the cases. But anyway, those are just my thoughts. And we'll come back tomorrow. We'll have another inning of fantasy Basebrawl for you. I'll try to come up with a new deck by then. I might have to resort to using an older one I've created that I haven't shown you yet. Again, my all due respect to you guys out there, I'm gonna go ahead and show them these channels, always putting out fresh new content. You guys doing a great job. I might never have even considered doing something like this without watching your guys' videos for quite some time. But yeah, so. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this segment, the 7th inning stretch. It was nice to take a little bit of a break. If you enjoyed it, I'll try to have another one next Sunday. And if you would, I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe if you'd like to see more. Have a good day. I hope we find you safe at home. Thank you.